Going live. All right. Hi, everybody. It's 9:30 on Monday night, which is our new time, of course, for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. It's Eric here, as usual, and James. Say hi.
Hello, everybody.
And we are back to present you with a little bit more information on the process of making Calamity Jane. We decided we really enjoyed doing some of the character conversations that we've been having the last couple of weeks, which started with Doctor Exposition, which ultimately, like, just as a kind of off the cuff conversation, led to the creation of the Shame Machine, which we actually have been talking a lot about, really. And then we moved on to talking about last week. We talked about the OCD bug and how that played into the larger character, if you will, of Dry Gulp Gorge. So we thought we'd go ahead and continue that trend this week and talk and go a little bit of detail into the silliness of the citizens of Dry Gulp Gorge and how they will play out in the series of the show. So, James, you want to fill us in a little bit on what we're looking at here?
Yeah, these are just a couple of sketches for the random townsfolk that live in Dry Gulp Gorge. I've done sketches like throughout our production, doing random characters here and there. This is so they've kind of evolved over time. Like this is a set of sketches here, but I've also in our animatic we had these guys over here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of them are very similar. Like you'll see here, I believe I called her Shanice. She's here.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have a name for all of them, or is it just the ones you particularly like?
Actually, like here's one. I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of small. I can open this file.
Yeah, I see
This is
Wanda.
Wanda and Molly. They and then if you look here, Wanda and Molly here have a baby. They're like one of the couples in Dry Gulp.
Oh, okay, nice. And in the previous one, I saw Robot. Is that Robot going to come through?
Yeah, so let's go back here. So I'm going to flip around a lot.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry.
let's do it. No. I'm enjoying
Yeah,
this.
but because I'm kind of jumping. I mean, I'm trying to explore what the people of Dry Gulp Gorge, are like, and who live, like what. I don't want them to feel like cardboard cutout type of characters. I think the one when I watch animated film or shows, I think one of the biggest things that always kind of has been a gripe for me was if they want to do townspeople, they always tend to put them in like grays, muted colors, browns, and they're all kind of wearing this, like they all shop at the same store in town or something because they all kind of have varying colors off the same, monochromatic set of colors. And I totally understand that from an artistic point of view why they do that, because they want to put all the bright colors on the main character. But I think the goal I always wanted to do with Dry Gulp Gorge is similar to what they do with The Simpsons, which is everybody in The Simpsons, you could pretty much pick any character, and they are a background character, but they're also special. They have their own story, they have their own lives, and if they ever happen to, as the seasons went on, you actually eventually see their story. If they get around to, getting a story written about them and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to treat Dry Gulp Gorge the same way. I don't want just background characters. I want characters to have, for like almost like a soul, or like I want the viewer to go, well, what's their story? As we go through town and see random daily activities and stuff. So here's a really good example of like some sketches I did a while back. And again, Juan and Molly are pretty much kind of set. They tend to show up a couple of times as I draw. I call this guy here. This guy is I call him Eric, not based off of you, Eric, but there's another family friend of mine, a friend of ours that his name's Eric, and I was just thought, you know what, it'd be kind of funny to put an Eric character back there.
All right. Well, that's good. I mean, my beard can't compare to his, so I accept it.
Slightly different, slightly different look. Your beard's not as long as this particular Eric's is, for example. So but yeah, then I got some skater dude here, and again, I don't know whether we'll stick with this. I don't know who she is yet, but I drew her. That's sassy.
Yeah, she's super sassy.
Yeah. And then we've got, Little House on the Prairie Girl right
Hmm.
here. And you notice that I'm not trying to stick with any particular type of period piece for clothing. Like they all
Right.
have their own. It's almost as if they all kind of stepped out of their own, whatever world they were in. They're all here and they're all
Right.
hanging out. There's
Right.
no, not we're not like we're going to explain that or anything. I'm just saying
I
that's
mean,
kind of the idea. Is you just don't, you can't place where they all are from. Um, but the one common thread that they do have is they share the town.
right, absolutely. I think that that commonality is important, and I like the idea though that you're sort of running with it because, again, this goes back into how a script starts. It's a skeleton, it's a foundation. In the script, I don't call out any of these characters. I mention the crowd. I mention rumbling in the crowd or cheers or shocked gasps and things of that nature. But I don't take any time to describe the individual characters, and I love the fact that you are adding that character to Dry Gulch Gorge, and I think that um, the the attention to detail and the variation that you're putting into the characters, it really will go a long way to adding flavor to Dry Gulch Gorge and really committing to this feeling that the town absolutely is a character in the show, right? Because this is the citizens are what defines that character.
Yeah. Now, with all that being said, you notice, and this is all based on the script that you wrote, but we do have some what I would consider B characters or more important characters, especially in this crowd shot. We have John Boy here,
There's John Boy.
and Sally's here as well. She
Mm-hmm.
has a couple lines in episode one,
Mm-hmm.
so they're kind of. I guess it's important to have these other ancillary characters along with them to kind of help emphasize that the crowd has personalities in there and they talk and they actually interact and they have their own opinions and especially in this scene I believe Sally has a couple of lines here to
Yep,
talk
she
to
does. Yep.
Mitchell about right like roughly around here
Yeah.
they watch
Yep.
the scene
Yep.
and then there's this scene with Mitchell they interact with them so that's all so it's I kind of find it important to make sure the crowd is involved with characters that do speak that represent town.
Well, I think that the other thing that it buys us, and you're future proofing the show a little bit by doing it, in my opinion. I mean, if you think about things, ensemble shows like The Office, or
Mm-hmm.
to a lesser extent, Parks and Recreation, Community is another great example. These are shows that they had a million ancillary characters, and sometimes they didn't even have names. I mean, in the case of The Office, the reason why half of the secondary characters are the same name as the actors is because when they were cast, they didn't have an actual name for the characters in the background, right? And so Angela Kinsey just became Angela, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that by creating that diversity of styles for Dry Gulch Gorge, I can go to that well, and maybe Molly and Wanda, there's an episode about them at some point. I think Lost is another great example. Although Lost, I don't know, Lost had this habit of creating characters for 3 episodes, and you knew when a new character would show up, you just sort of put on the ticking clock of, all right, how many episodes is it going to take before they die? Right? Because
Yeah,
the ensemble
yeah,
in Lost never really got any bigger or smaller, except when they found the south part of the plane or the back part of the plane, and ultimately they killed off all those characters for the most part anyway. So,
so I
um,
just needed to. I mean, like talking about the evolution of putting characters here and there. So in my file name, I have it listed as Wanda and Molly,
yeah,
but here I draw her again, but her name is Shanice in the layer here. So
interesting.
I'm still on the making this up as I go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think actually Wanda works better as a name. So that's just my opinion, but.
I'm not.
Uh,
I'm not putting a. I'm not drawing a line in the sand for that one. It's all right. I'll forgive you for that one.
Look at this. Look at this creative name I have here in the layer here. I have Mystery Guy.
Mystery guy.
Like that,
I
you
mean, like his name could be Wallace Mystery Guy, right? Like we don't know that, Wally Mystery Guy.
but you also bring up a point. I did draw. I purposely drew a robot in here mainly to evoke a possible debate just between us as we're making the show. But if I recall, I don't think you even mentioned anything about you were completely neutral with the robot. You didn't even like as if it wasn't bugging you and it was just part of the deal.
I mean,
Is that is
I don't see
that
any reason. I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be robots in Dry Gulch Gorge.
so?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then this brings up another question though. Like so, last what 2 weeks ago we came up with the Shame Machine, who
Mm-hmm.
was a robot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do we if we put a robot into a crowd scene? Does that diminish the uniqueness of having an actual machine that's a villain, a possible future villain to be in the show? When we have them kind of walking around as if I don't know. I'm posing the question, and I don't even think it's that important, but
I mean,
obviously it is.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to like just call you out on our live stream. But I mean, have you already forgotten about Sandy?
Oh
Um,
well, yeah, but yeah, of course, Sandy. Sandy. I don't think of her as a robot. I don't know why,
oh,
and she is.
interesting. Yeah, she is a
And she
robot.
actually is,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, it's
but
funny.
yeah, I don't. I think that the Shame Machine is a special thing. I don't find the Shame Machine to be particularly sentient. Right? It's
Mhm.
not the Shame robot. It's the Shame Machine. And while he may have it might have attributes that are reminiscent of a robot, I would not necessarily categorize it as a robot within the context of the Calamity Jane Adventure Hour. It's certainly not a robot like Sandy is,
Mhm.
um, and or like that background robot is. So I don't actually have a problem with it. I think honestly I would have more. We would have to have more of a conversation if you started putting a lot of amphibians in the background. Um, I think that there's something unique about Calamity being the only amphibian in the cartoon right now. And I call out amphibians specifically because I find them to be different. Like a crocodile wouldn't bother me, like you're drawing right there, at least to
Yeah.
my eye.
See how
Um,
I'm just kind of baiting you.
yeah,
I'm
I
already
know.
kind
Yeah,
of
you totally are calling me out here. Um, there's something special about and I know Chaos Chameleon he's a reptile, obviously. Chameleon's not an amphibian, but there's something special about Calamity being the only amphibian in the show. It makes her unique. It makes her stand out, and I think that that's something that's important.
So, for example, so this dude, he's got his jersey on. His number. He's a big fan of whatever sports team it is. But he
He's number
hangs out
zero,
on
huh?
the
He's
court.
the original.
He's now officially a crowd person.
Cool.
Uh, do you? So yeah. So you were saying you have no problem with this guy because he's a gator of sorts.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think
and
maybe it's
he's
even
in the
even
background.
I think maybe it's even like I like even if it were a frog, I think I'd be okay with it. I think if you started putting salamanders or axolotls or however you pronounce them, or other amphibians in the same kind of vein as salamanders, that would start. It's not that it undermines Calamity, but what it does in my mind, if I were watching it, I would go, wait a second, there's a salamander in the background. How is that related to Calamity? Right? It
Mhm.
would not be. You couldn't put another salamander or similar type amphibian into the cartoon, in my mind, without a thinking audience member going, "What's the connection?"
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
A crocodile is not going to have that same kind of connection. A robot certainly is not going to have that same kind of connection. But like if there's an axolotl in the background, is that Calamity's cousin? Is it is it maybe Calamity's parent? What happened to Calamity's parent? And I want to
Mhm.
keep that special about Calamity. She's unique in this situation.
So with how abstract our show is, Calamity is a salamander, right? But she could be in another person's eyes, she could be a lizard. So therefore, this alligator kid could be considered her cousin, right? If somebody didn't know anything about the show. I'm not doing this to be difficult. I'm
No, I
more
think it's a
more
real question. Like where
conversation.
is the line, right? No, I mean I
Yeah,
think it's
where's the
totally
line? Because
valid. Yeah.
because yeah, some other a kid could watch this and go, hey, is that Calamity's brother? Because he looks kind of the same. He's kind of in Calamity. Even though we do point out that Calamity is a salamander amphibian. We're really kind of just drawing a technical line by saying that in the animal
Mhm.
world that's what she is.
Mhm. I mean, I think
Yeah.
for me, I think the best like example that I can come up with, which I think is pretty relevant and works pretty well, especially given her hair color, is Leela from Futurama. Um, and ultimately they reveal that she is a mutant, and we meet her parents. But for a very long time, spoilers, I'm sorry for everybody who hasn't seen Futurama and will eventually get to this years old show now. But and you should, by the way, Futurama is amazing. But for a long time, we were sold on the notion that she was an alien, right? And Leela very intentionally was the only one-eyed character of a humanoid shape like that in the show until we meet her parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
even her parents are not like otherwise perfectly normal. Like they have tentacle hands and things of that nature. And in fact, as part of the show fiction, they gave Leela up because she looks so much like a normal person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, they were banished to the sewers of New York. And I think Calamity works in a similar way. If and Leela looks mostly human, but just with the one eye, and people are still aware that there's something different about her. I think that kids watching the show, while they may not understand the technical distinctions between a reptile and a salamander, they will recognize that a crocodile looks different than a salamander, especially because you're drawing it and you're an excellent artist, and you'll be able to draw those differentiations.
I th- I think also the key will be is who has the most lines and like what's the show? Who's the show about? Well, it's about Calamity Jane. Who cares what's in the background because it's her show.
Well, again, to go back to that Leela example, there was an episode where she meets another one-eyed, what she thinks is alien, and there's a whole thing. It turns out it's a fraud and whatever. But the significance of finding that another one-eyed alien is exponentially increased because the show had taken so much effort to make her condition so special and so unique, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that as long as we make sure that visually Calamity remains striking, then other reptiles, or maybe even other amphibians, quite frankly, maybe it's less about the actual species and more just about her look. As long as Calamity has a singular look that no one else even comes close to replicating, unless it's important for that, like we meet her parents or something along those lines. I think then we're probably fine.
And I think I don't think it's an accident that we're using Futurama. Well, I mean, you brought up Futurama, which is again another Matt Groening created show where I was talking about The Simpsons and how unique all those characters are,
Oh yeah,
and
strong silhouettes.
they
Yeah.
totally they go to town in Futurama about
Oh
background
yeah.
characters look like, and we never lose sight of Fry, Bender, and everybody else, in the show. So I think yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I guess I'm kind of aiming for that. That's my lofty goal for handling townsfolk is kind of the same treatment that they get in The Simpsons and Futurama.
hmm Well, yeah. I mean, in Futurama, in particular, I think there are so many unique characters in that show. I mean, even just throwaway characters that are only in one episode are
Yeah.
incredibly memorable. I mean, the character designs in that show are just really phenomenal, and I think that
Yeah.
the sci-fi environment really gave the artists the freedom to kind of just go nuts with it. And yeah, I mean, I just love Futurama. I think that's pretty obvious, but yeah, I think that it's a great high bar to shoot for in terms of the specialness of the characters.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's what we're trying to aim for now, I suppose. I think it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm glad we kind of talked about this because I've been sort of subliminally doing this where I don't want to. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of the opposite of what I don't want to do, which
Okay.
is Castlevania on Netflix right now.
Oh yeah.
It's a fun show. The first season I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
You and I we've talked about this
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
It's
I like
but
season one, like season two a lot, like both of them. Yeah. I haven't.
yeah,
I only watched the first episode of season three, and I have not gone back.
yeah, yeah. I persevered through season three. Wasn't as happy, but Season 1 was fun, but again,
Mm-hmm.
all the villagers, everybody, whenever they went to town, they were all just wearing, if I remember right, all wearing browns and drab colors. It's like,
Yeah,
no, these people's lives, they're all important too.
yeah.
But also, if you think about it from a purely time and expenditure point of view, then yeah, it's more effort. But I don't know. I don't mind. I'd rather put the effort into it right than not, I guess.
I'm inclined to
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, I mean, it's not. Our budget is frankly our time, because we're not. I mean, we're largely just doing this as a work of passion. It's not. You know what I'm saying. Like
Mhm.
our budget is our time, basically. However much time we can afford to work on it any given day, while we're also trying to make real money to do, to live our lives.
Yeah. But it does. Yeah, but it does raise the question. Oh man, I mean, I do want to. I mean, there's always, although I don't want to put unreal pressure on ourselves. I do want to get this. I would love to get this first episode done, but I keep wanting to explore stuff before going forward. And I think that's kind of the luxury that we kind of have, because we're used to kind of coming from, we have a deadline, we only have X amount of time to finish it, and we have to sacrifice stuff. So it's almost like we're in the candy store and we get to kind of do with what the heck we want, and no one can tell us no, except for each other. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I'm sitting there as you saying that, like immediately feeling guilty, because in another life, obviously, I was a producer, and my entire job was telling people to no, and like
yeah,
slapping their wrist and saying, "Stop it! Don't do that anymore." Um,
yeah. But again, your responsibility was to handle a budget and to
yeah.
deliver on time is a very different dynamic, right?
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. Very very different than what my day to day is now these days. Um, but no, I think it's a good conversation point. I think it's important to have, and um, I think as long as there's forward progress and momentum being made, that's really what our goal is right. It's always to keep moving forward, keep pushing towards the finished product, because I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all comes out and seeing what the result is.
so not to diverge too much, but I do have some homework for you.
Uh oh, I hate homework.
Before the stream, and this still kind of goes along the lines of just watching cartoons and stuff, but apparently on YouTube right now Hasbro has a channel and they're streaming GI Joe episodes just back to back to back.
Really?
Just yeah, and I can't believe how hilarious they are. I mean, they are Eric as our
Oh
head
yeah, so it
writer.
is live right now. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't stop. I mean, I haven't laughed this hard in I don't know in a long time. I mean, I haven't watched those since I was like
Oh, I know.
12, or 13,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But oh my gosh, the storyline I saw was, GI Joe, of course, again talking about having unique characters all in their backgrounds. The particular show I was watching was revolved around a character named Dusty,
Oh
and
yeah.
how, yeah, and apparently he decides to join Cobra, the evil terrorist organization, and try to help them steal this kind of car wash armor type spray that GI Joe has invented that can make all their vehicles and their clothing invincible.
Uh oh.
You know, apparently, the GI Joe people figure out that Dusty has and it goes over all kinds of weird topics, but they discover that Dusty's motivation, possibly for becoming a traitor for against the GI Joe, was his mom's in the hospital and he has to pay medical bills. So
Get out.
he decides to betray. He decides to betray his country and GI Joe, stealing the formula and bringing it over to Cobra Commander. And he's talking to a guy who's doing. They implement the car spray armor all protectant onto their vehicles, and there's all this random conversation about that. And one of the guys in charge of the car spray overhears Cobra Commander commending Dusty, saying, good job! You have stolen the ultimate weapon for us. We can finally defeat G.I. Joe
Oh
with
my
this new
god.
armor car spray.
That wasn't a bad Cobra Commander, by the way.
Oh,
That wasn't
my favorite
bad.
film of all time. I refine that. Yeah, I don't want to get into voice, but
uh,
he's my favorite.
oh my
He's the
god.
same voice actor that does Starscream and Transformers. So you get a
Yeah,
double.
yeah, that guy. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm angry at myself that I don't know his name off the top of my head.
yeah, but he's one of my all-time favorites. But but this guy, so this one guy spraying down the cars and all the vehicles, and it turns out that the guy gets jealous and goes, "Hey, this is my job. I don't want Dusty to spray down the cars with his armor all protected stuff.
Uh-huh.
I want to have this job. It's my job. And then Cobra Commander goes, aha, well, it looks like we have an argument. Let's settle this in the arena of death. And of course, oh my gosh, Eric, you've got to see this episode.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Like the writing, like, because, when you're watching the show, it's all just, interspersed with toy merch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All these obstacles. They had to make sure it wasn't too violent, but just, violent enough to keep it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Put all the cards in there, all the merch in there. So yeah, they end up in the arena of death, and then they're about to fight. They get equipped with spiked mace whips. It's incredible. And then of course, and I'll leave it at this: Cobra Commander hits a button, and water starts flooding the arena. I wanted to add an extra, and I'm paraphrasing Cobra Commander, but I wanted to add an extra obstacle for you two to make it more fun for all of us.
But
all the units go, yay! Oh, and of course the water is filled with man-eating piranhas.
Of course they are, yeah.
And so before this is just before our meeting today, and I couldn't stop laughing, man.
That's amazing.
So I gotta say, as our head writer, you got homework, man.
I grew up with GI Joes, man. I had all of them. So, but yeah, I haven't watched the show in years, and honestly, it exists in my memory now more as parody than an actual cartoon because
it'll definitely get reinforced when you watch when you jump on the screen.
Christopher Collins, by the way, Christopher Collins.
That's
the voice of Cobra Commander in Starscream. Yeah.
Oh man, one of the best. I mean, the '80s had some good voice actors. The guy that does Optimus
I know, and some of them are still pretty active these days.
Yeah, Optimus Prime's guy. I can't remember his name. It's off the top of my head. It starts with a C or something.
Yeah.
But he's still working, and all the Optimus Prime stuff he pretty much does.
He does. I mean, he even did the voice in the movies too, if my memory serves.
Yeah, and he's still got it. I mean, he hasn't lost anything really. It brings back the
Peter Cullen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Cullen. Yeah.
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 But okay, well, I'll definitely keep that in mind. And just because I've already invoked Community once, I'll invoke it again. If you haven't, make sure to check out the episode where Joel is trapped in an episode of G.I. Joe.
Oh yeah, that's a great episode. I watched that.
Yeah.
I completely I was grinning ear to ear through the whole episode. It's hilarious. Yeah, absolutely hilarious. But, speaking of Community, did you see that they did a benefit stream?
It was so much fun. It was so fun. Yeah, I was.
Yeah. The will episode, right? The Pierce will and Testament episode. I think.
Yeah, right. Abin Nadir, are you aware that everything that you did always confused me and I never understood anything that you were saying? Yep, here's your sperm.
Yeah, that's again another comedy gold show.
Sure. I know. And then Pedro Pascal doing the Walter Goggins part for the live stream, and just getting to that part. He was really good, and then he just could not do the lines when it got to those punchlines.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was so much fun.
So well, if anybody happens to be watching this episode, there's plenty of stuff to watch out there.
Oh yeah, there's so much good stuff. And listen to us, and then go watch it, and then you'll actually understand what's going on with Calamity Jane.
huge influences that we have here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, well, that's about 30 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and just recap and just take one last glance at all the crazy villagers and hopefully we get to bring them to life and really breathe some real fun, entertaining stuff into Dry Gulp Gorge. And this is me signing off. And a quick reminder, you can always check us out on our website, calamityjane.rocks. That'll take you over to our Patreon site, or you can just look for us directly on Patreon if you're curious. Also follow us on Facebook. We're just facebook.com/Calamity Jane Adventure Hour. And we'll see you here next week at 9:30 at the usual time. And then, as always, check in on Thursday for either an update essay, or if I've got some axe to grind, I'll grind it there about cartoons or what have you. Last couple of weeks have been kind of axe grindy weeks, interspersed with a little bit of updates. But I think they're fun, and those ones, the ones that aren't like real updates, those are always free. Everybody can always read those, so you don't have to be a patron. Although we would love for you to subscribe to our Patreon site. And I'll stop rambling now and just say thanks. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for, and we hope you enjoy it. And we're looking forward to seeing you next week. James, any last parting words?
Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Excellent. All right. Night, everybody. Bye.
Good night.